Kiddos, let's do some of this homework. I think what was on page 321 is pretty straightforward. Most of you should have a handle on that. If not, come visit with me in tutorials. The stuff on page 322, I think a little bit of help is in order. So number 15, this is pretty easy. They want us to write this sequence, 7, 21, 63, 189, and they want us to write it in both recursive formula and then with sequence notation. So here's the recursive, and I did a short little video on this last night. This is super easy. All we need to know is our common difference and our first term. First term, our f of 1 is 7, halfway done. Now the notation or the recursive formula, f of n is going to equal our constant ratio times the term that came before. So 7, 21, 63, 189, it should be pretty obvious that we're multiplying by 3. So f of n equals 3 times f of n minus 1. And this structure here, this just means multiply the term that came before. Insert the term that came before the term that we're currently looking for. Done. Done. That's it. That's the recursive notation for that sequence. And then they want the sequence notation also, which might also be called the explicit formula, because you don't have to do just the one that came before. You can go find any term that you want. This is the g sub n equals g sub 1 times r raised to the n minus 1 power. What's our g sub 1? The first term is 7. Our r is 3, and we're going to raise that to the n minus 1 power. That's it. That's the sequence notation. All you need to identify is the first term and the common ratio. So for 16, pretty easy. You've got 100, 10, 1, 0, and then 0.1. It looks like we're dividing by 10 each time, which means we're multiplying by 1/10. So our recursive f of 1 is the first term, 100, and our formula, or the second part of the recursive, is our common ratio, 1/10 times this. I'm going to call this is a mathematical structure. That's what I'm going to call this. This is a function structure that says, hey, go look at the term that came before. And that's it. This is what a computer program would use to write out this sequence. And then if we wanted to do sequence notation, g sub n is going to equal our first term, which is 100, times our common ratio, 1/10, raised to the n minus 1 power. So there you go. That is sequence, and this is recursive. I will leave you to do 17. Let's do maybe 19 or 20 together. It says write the explicit formula for a geometric sequence, then determine the 8th term. As far as I'm concerned, this, what I've been calling sequence notation, is the explicit formula. Explicit formula. Now maybe I'll come across some explanation in our textbook later that says a little bit different, but take my word for it. We can call that the explicit formula, and if we need to slightly adjust things later, we will. So then for, say, number 19, we want to find the explicit formula for the sequence 1/2, 1/6, 1/18. Well, we're going to need our first term. So g sub n is going to equal g sub 1, our first term, times our common ratio. What am I multiplying by? Well, 1/2 times what gives me 1/6? 1/2 times 1/3, and then I'm going to raise that to the n minus 1 power. And then to find g sub 8, the 8th term in the sequence is going to be 1/2 times 1/3 to the 8 minus 1, and of course 8 minus 1 is 7. And at that point, I'm punching numbers into my calculator. 0.5 times 1/3 raised to the 7th power. My calculator gives me 0.0002286, and that's plenty. We could also convert that to a fraction maybe if we wanted to, but I'm okay with decimal notation on this one. I am fairly certain that that is equivalent to 1 over 4374. Yes, it is. Alrighty. So then when it comes to number 20, they've given you the recursive. First term is 5. This is number 20. And then this might as well, you might as well read this like this. I'm telling you right now, these two things are equivalent. They use an A. I don't like that. A is for arithmetic, G is for geometric. At least in my mind, that makes more sense. I like this recursive function notation much better. I don't see any reason for us to just keep learning different types of notation. It's the idea that really matters. So let's use this. Let's see, write the explicit formula, or just consider these two things the same, and then the explicit will be G sub n equals our first term, which they told us in the problem was 5, times our common ratio, and we're going to raise that to the n minus 1 power. No problem. So for the problem about the game show, numbers 21 through 23, I would really like for you to be able to work that one out yourself, but I'll hint you in, the first term is 100 because you get $100, and then what happens to that $100 as we win? We double. So to double, you're going to be multiplying by 2. So your first term is 100, and your doubling or your common ratio is going to be 2. And see if you can work your way through 21, 22, and 23 with that information. For 24, I just write out the sequence. I know my first term is -6, and I'm going to be multiplying by -1/2, which means the second term is +3. And the third term is, well, maybe I shouldn't give it away here, but you should be able to run that one out on your own. The table shows a pendulum. So we're going to write the explicit formula. And you can take the information right out of the table here. If you want to find the common ratio, it's just 60. Let's see. You're always dividing, let's see, common ratio is 60 divided by 80. Yes. 45 divided by 60. 33.75 divided by 45. You just divide by the term that came before. If you can't immediately see what you're multiplying, run it backwards. 45 divided by 60. 60 divided by 80. 33.75 divided by 45. That's going to give you the same number each time. That's your common ratio. And then your first term is right here in the table. And I think that should be enough help for you to get through this homework. You can always ask questions in class tomorrow. There's going to be time for that. And I want to offer some sort of secret extra credit password to incentivize people watching this video, because I know I'm going to send it out on Remind, and a bunch of you, or some of you are going to watch it, but a bunch of your classmates aren't going to watch it. And because you decided to watch it to the end, I want you to get something for that. So, tell you what, on a piece of paper, tell me what your favorite television show is, or Netflix show, wherever you watch TV. And the why can be really short. But do this on a separate sheet of paper, fold it up, bring it to me, and I'll give you 10 bonus points when I finally quiz you over this. 10, that seems like a lot, but I said it, so let's go with 10. Answer me, what is your favorite television show and why? It can be pretty short. Just tell me what the show is and give me 1 or 2 sentences why you like it. Fold it up, bring it to me tomorrow. Don't tell your friends. They've got to watch the video. And if you do that, I will give you 10 points bonus or extra on an upcoming quiz. There you go. Good luck. See you tomorrow.